Captain Daeho Kim stared at the view screen, his knuckles white against the armrest of his command chair. Outside the reinforced glass of the Eternal Dawn, space had become a prison. 300 alien warships surrounded his fleet like wolves circling wounded prey. Each vessel dwarfed his colony ship, their dark hulls covered in symbols he couldn't read but understood perfectly. They meant dominance. They meant power. They meant submission. "Captain, incoming transmission," Lieutenant Junho Lee said from the communications station. The young officer's voice was steady, but Daeho noticed the tremor in his hands. Hunyo had graduated from the academy only 2 years ago. He'd signed up to explore new worlds, not to face extinction before his 25th birthday. "Put it through," Daeho ordered. The view screen flickered. The bridge of the Eternal Dawn, with its worn panels and patched systems, disappeared. In its place stood a creature that made several crew members gasp. It was tall, perhaps 8 feet, with 4 arms and skin that shifted colors like oil on water. Its eyes were too large, too black, and they held an expression that Daeho recognized from his years in command. It was the look of someone who had never lost. "I am Council Leader Taejin Ro of the Vrelian Concordat," the alien said. Its voice came through the translator as smooth and cold as ice. "You are humanity. You are young. You are primitive. You do not understand the galaxy you have entered." Daeho stood from his chair. Behind him, Dr. Minji Park moved closer from her science station. She was the smartest person on the ship, maybe the smartest person Daeho had ever met. If anyone could find a way out of this, it would be her. But even Minji looked pale as she watched the alien. "We understand enough," Daeho said. "We understand that you've surrounded 18 colony ships carrying 40,000 civilians. We understand that you've jammed our hyperspace engines. We understand that this isn't a friendly greeting." Taejin Ro's head tilted in what might have been amusement. "You understand nothing. For 40,000 of your years, the Concordat has maintained order in this galaxy. 7 great civilizations united in purpose. We bring peace. We bring stability. We bring structure to chaos. At what cost?" Ambassador Hyewon Choi stepped forward. She was older than Daeho, her hair gray but her eyes sharp. She'd negotiated treaties with 3 different human factions during the resource wars. She knew how to read an opponent. "What exactly does your peace require?" "Compliance," Taejin Ro said simply. "Every species that enters the galactic community must accept their place. You will submit to the compliance protocol. Your military capabilities will be restricted. Your technology will be monitored. Your reproduction will be regulated. Your worlds will be governed by Concordat overseers. In return, you will have protection. You will have peace. You will have purpose." The bridge was silent. Daeho heard someone breathing too fast behind him. He heard the hum of the life support systems. He heard his own heartbeat pounding in his ears. "You're talking about slavery," Minji said quietly. "We are talking about civilization," Taejin Ro replied. "Every species in this galaxy has made this choice. The Thren, the Kolvar, the Messian Unity, the Broken Suns. 347 species have accepted the Concordat's guidance. They thrive under our protection. They live without war, without suffering, without the chaos of uncontrolled expansion, without freedom." Junho muttered. If Taejin Ro heard him, it didn't react. "You have 72 hours to decide. Submit and live. Refuse and be eliminated. This is not a negotiation. This is a statement of reality. The galaxy has rules. You will follow them or you will cease to exist." The transmission ended. The view screen returned to the site of the surrounding warships. Daeho stood motionless for a moment, then turned to face his crew. Every eye was on him. Some looked scared. Some looked angry. All of them looked to him for answers he didn't have. "Ambassador Choi, contact the other colony ships. I want the captains in a conference within the hour. Minji, I need you to find out everything you can about these Vrelians. Use every database we have. Hunyo, get me a tactical analysis. I want to know if there's any way we could fight our way out of this." Junho looked at him with wide eyes. "Sir, there are 300 of them and 18 of us. Our ships have mining lasers and basic shields. They have weapons that could vaporize us before we could—" "I said, get me the analysis, Lieutenant." Daeho cut him off. His voice was harder than he intended. "I need to know our options. All of them." The bridge crew scattered to their tasks. Minji lingered, her hand touching Daeho's arm. "You know what they're asking is impossible, right? We can't just give up everything that makes us human." "I know," Daeho said quietly. But I also can't let 40,000 people die because of pride. It's not pride, Minji said. It's principle. There's a difference. Over the next hours, Deho watched his worst fears confirmed. The tactical analysis showed that any fight would be over in minutes. The Vrelian ships were faster, stronger, and more advanced in every way. The conference with the other captains revealed what he expected: fear, anger, desperation. Some wanted to surrender immediately, some wanted to fight. Most were simply paralyzed by the impossibility of the choice. Minji brought him something more disturbing. I hacked into their data transmission, she said, pulling up files on her tablet. They have records of every species they've integrated into the Concordat. But there are gaps, Deho. Species that appear in old records but disappear from new ones. No explanation. No mention. Just gone. The ones who refused, Deho said. I think so. I found fragments of data about a species called the Zenari. They had a similar encounter with the Concordat about 600 years ago. Their whole civilization was erased. Not just defeated, erased, every world sterilized. Every ship destroyed. Every trace of their culture eliminated. The Concordat doesn't just kill those who refuse. They make them into warnings. Ambassador Hyawan joined them on the bridge. I've been attempting diplomatic contact with Taejin Ro. It won't even respond. This isn't a negotiation to them. It's a processing procedure. They've done this so many times they don't even see us as people making a choice. We're just the next item on a list. Deho sat in his command chair, feeling the weight of 40,000 lives pressing down on him. He thought about his daughter back on Earth. She was 15. She wanted to be a pilot like him. If he surrendered, she'd grow up in a galaxy where humanity was a servant species. If he refused, she might not grow up at all. The 72 hours crawled by. Deho slept in his chair when he slept at all. He watched the countdown timer on his console tick toward 0. He read the messages from the other ships: pleas, prayers, rage, resignation. He listened to Hyewan's reports of her failed diplomatic attempts. He studied Minji's research on the Concordat's victims. With 6 hours remaining, his communications console beeped. An incoming transmission from Earth, routed through the colony fleet's quantum relay. It had taken weeks to get here. It was marked urgent and encrypted with the highest government codes. Put it through, Deho said. Just audio. My station only. He pressed the receiver to his ear. The message was short. The voice belonged to Admiral Sungmin Kang, the commander of Earth's defense forces. The man who had sent these colony ships out into the stars. The man who had trusted Deho to keep them safe. The message was one word: resist. Deho sat back in his chair. He looked at the countdown timer. 5 hours and 43 minutes until extinction. He looked at his crew, working at their stations, trying to find a miracle. He looked at the view screen and the 300 warships waiting to kill them all. He pressed the ship-wide intercom. All hands, this is the captain. I need you to listen carefully. In 5 hours, the Vrelians will demand our answer. I've made my decision. I'm going to tell them no. The silence that followed Deho's announcement lasted 3 seconds. Then the bridge erupted into noise. Unyo stood up from his station. Minji grabbed the edge of her console. Even Ambassador Hyewan, who rarely showed emotion, looked shocked. Captain, we can't... Junho started. I know what we can't do, Lieutenant. Deho said calmly. We can't fight 300 warships. We can't escape. We can't negotiate. We can't do anything that makes tactical sense. But we can choose how we die. And I choose to die free. Deho, Hyewan said carefully, you're talking about 40,000 people. That's not just your decision to make. You're right, Deho agreed. He turned to Junho. Open a channel to all 18 ships. All frequencies. I want every person in this fleet to hear this. Junho hesitated, then nodded. Channel open, sir. Deho stood, straightening his uniform. He thought about what Admiral Kang's message meant. Resist, not fight. Not win. Resist. Because sometimes the act of resistance mattered more than the outcome. This is Captain Deho Kim of the Eternal Dawn. By now you all know about the Vrelian ultimatum. Submit or die. For the past 3 days I've been trying to find a third option. There isn't one. So I'm going to be honest with you about what I'm planning to do. I'm going to refuse their terms. I'm going to tell them that humanity doesn't negotiate with slavers. I'm going to tell them no. He paused, letting that sink in. I know what that means. It means we're all going to die. It means we won't see Earth again. It means our families will mourn us. But it also means something else. It means that when humanity's story is told, it won't be the story of a species that gave up without a fight. It won't be the story of people who chose slavery over death. It will be the story of 40,000 humans who looked at impossible odds and said no anyway. On the view screen, he could see the other colony ships, 17 vessels, each carrying thousands of people who had left Earth to build new worlds. They'd risked everything for a dream of freedom. He couldn't ask them to give up that dream now. If any ship wants to surrender separately, I won't stop you. I won't judge you. This is a choice everyone has to make for themselves. You have 1 hour to decide. If you want to leave the fleet and negotiate your own terms, do it now. But if you stay, you're agreeing to fight. And we will fight. I don't care if we only last 5 minutes. Those will be 5 minutes of freedom. He nodded to Junho, who closed the channel. The bridge was quiet. Minji walked over to him. That was a good speech, she said. Possibly a suicidal speech, but a good one. You think I'm wrong? Deho asked. I think you're right. I also think we're all going to die. Both things can be true. She smiled, though her eyes were sad. So if we're doing this, we should at least try to make it hurt for them. That got a laugh from Junho. Make it hurt. I like that. Sir, permission to work with engineering on some creative weapon solutions? Granted. Take Minji with you. If we're going down, let's go down swinging. Over the next hour, something remarkable happened. The communication channels lit up with responses. Not a single ship left the fleet. Not one captain chose to negotiate separately. Messages poured in from crews who had voted, families who had talked, individuals who had decided. The vote wasn't unanimous. Some people were terrified, some were angry at Deho for making this choice. But the majority agreed. Freedom or death. No slavery. No submission. In the engineering bay of the Eternal Dawn, Unisong was working a miracle. She was young for a chief engineer, only 32, but she understood systems the way artists understood paint. She looked at the colony ship's tools and saw weapons. These mining lasers aren't designed for combat, she explained to Minji and Junho as they crowded around her workstation. But they can cut through asteroids. That means they can cut through ship hulls if we get close enough. The problem is getting close enough. Their shields will stop us before we're in range. What about the terraforming equipment? Minji asked. We have atmospheric processors, weather control systems, seismic generators. Yuna's eyes lit up. The seismic generators. They're designed to crack tectonic plates. If we overload them and use them as bombs... She started typing rapidly. It's crude. It's stupid. It'll probably kill us before it kills them. But it might work. Might is better than nothing, Junho said. They worked through the night. Across the fleet, other engineers were doing the same. They turned cargo haulers into missiles. They reprogrammed navigation systems to ram enemy ships. They wired life support systems to explode. They took everything that was meant to build new worlds and turned it into weapons. When the deadline came, Deho contacted Taejin Ro. The Vrelian appeared on the view screen, confident and calm. You have reached your decision time. What is humanity's answer? No, Deho said simply. For the first time, Taejin Ro showed an expression Deho could read. It was surprise. Pure, genuine surprise. You refuse? We refuse. You understand what this means? We understand that you're offering us slavery. We understand that you think we're too weak to refuse. We understand that you've done this to hundreds of species and they all submitted. We're not going to. Taejin Ro's colors shifted. Confusion Minji had learned showed as rapid flickering. This is unprecedented. In 40,000 years, no species has refused the compliance protocol. You are choosing extinction over prosperity. We're choosing freedom over slavery, Deho corrected. There's a difference. There is no difference. You are all about to die. Then come and kill us, Deho said. But we're going to make you remember this day. We're going to make you remember that humanity doesn't break. He cut the transmission. Around him, the bridge crew was silent. Then Hwon started clapping. It was slow at first, then faster. Junyo joined in, then Minji. Soon the entire bridge was applauding, even as death surrounded them. All ships, Deho said into the fleet channel. This is it. They're coming. Remember what we're fighting for. If we die free. Show them what humans can do. The Vrelian fleet moved forward. On the tactical display, it looked like a tidal wave of red icons. The human ships, 18 small green dots, arranged themselves in a defensive formation near an asteroid field that Yuna had seeded with Mines, the battle began. The first Vrelian warship entered weapon range and fired. The colony ship New Beijing took the hit on its forward shields. The shields held for 3 seconds before collapsing. The ship's hull breached, venting atmosphere. But before it died, New Beijing launched its cargo bay, 16 containers filled with overloaded seismic generators, directly at the Vrelian ship. The explosion was massive. The Vrelian ship survived, but its shields dropped. Immediately, 3 other human ships targeted it with their mining lasers. The concentrated beams cut through the exposed hull. The Vrelian warship exploded. On the Eternal Dawn's bridge, everyone cheered. They'd killed one. Against 300, they'd killed one. That's for Earth, someone shouted. The battle turned into chaos. The humans fought like cornered animals. They used the asteroids as cover. They rammed when they ran out of ammunition. They set traps and ambushes. They died by the hundreds, but they made every death count. Unisong piloted a mining shuttle directly into a Vrelian cruiser's engine intake. The explosion took out the cruiser and damaged 2 more ships nearby. The shuttle's crew of 5 killed a ship carrying 3,000 Vrelians. Junho coordinated the fleet's movements, finding gaps in the enemy formation, creating moments of advantage. His tactical displays showed the human fleet shrinking. 15 ships, 13 ships, 10 ships, but the Vrelian count dropped 2. 23 enemy ships destroyed, 23 victories against impossible odds. Minji broadcast their fight across all galactic frequencies. She didn't know if anyone was listening, but she transmitted anyway. This is Dr. Minji Park of the Human Colony Fleet. We are fighting the Vrelian Concordat. They demanded we submit to slavery. We refused. We're dying here, but we're dying free. Let our example reach anyone else who faces this choice. Don't submit. Don't break, fight. The Eternal Dawn took hit after hit. Shields failed. Hull plates melted. Fires broke out on 3 decks. But Daeho kept his ship fighting, kept his crew working, kept the dream of resistance alive. Then, when only 8 human ships remained and the Eternal Dawn's hull was breaching, Truno shouted from his station, "Captain, sensors are going crazy. Energy signatures emerging from hyperspace. Thousands of them." Everyone turned to look at the view screen. Space was tearing open. Ships were pouring through. Not dozens. Not hundreds, thousands. Are those more Vrelians? Haiwen asked. Minji checked her sensors, her face pale. No, these are different designs. Different energy signatures. I don't know what they are. The new fleet arranged itself between the surviving human ships and the Vrelians. A transmission came through. The face that appeared was alien, not Vrelian. Something else. Something with scales and eyes that glowed. Humanity, the alien said. We are the Broken Chain Alliance. We heard your broadcast. We heard you say no, hold on. You're not alone anymore. Daeho stared at the view screen in disbelief. The alien's face was reptilian, covered in dark green scales that caught the light from nearby stars. Its eyes were golden and intense. Behind it, Daeho could see a bridge full of other aliens. Different species, different faces, but all watching with expressions he couldn't quite read. Who are you? Daeho asked. I am Kalar, the alien said. My species was called the Veltran. Before the Concordat took our name and gave us a number instead. 3,000 years ago, we submitted to the Vrelians. We have regretted it every day since. But you said you're the Broken Chain Alliance, Minji said, moving closer to the view screen. Alliance of what? Of the species that remember, Kalar answered. 53 civilizations who submitted to the Concordat centuries or millennia ago. We've been hiding in the galactic rim, building in secret, waiting for the right moment to break free. On the tactical display, Junho was running numbers with shaking hands. Captain, I'm counting 4,000 ships in their fleet. They're arranging themselves as a defensive screen around our position. The Vrelians are pulling back. Daeho looked at the display. The Vrelian fleet, which had been seconds away from destroying the last human ships, was retreating to a defensive formation. Taijin-Ro's face appeared on a split screen, its colors shifting rapidly in what Minji had learned meant anger or fear. Kalar, Taijin-Ro said, its voice still cold but no longer confident. You are in violation of Concordat law. Your species are bound by the compliance protocol. Return to your assigned sectors immediately. No, Kalar said simply. That one word hung in space. Daeho felt something shift in his chest. He'd said the same word hours ago, expecting to die for it. Now someone else was saying it too. You cannot refuse, Taijin-Ro said. You are concordate subjects. You will obey. We were concordate subjects, Kellar corrected. Past tense. We stopped being subjects the moment we remembered what freedom felt like. And humanity reminded us. Another face appeared on Deho's view screen. This one looked almost insect-like, with compound eyes and mandibles. I am Nessa of the Thren species. My people have been the concordate soldiers for 5,000 years. We've conquered 17 civilizations in the concordate's name. We were told it was for peace, for order, for the good of the galaxy. Nessa's voice was bitter. We were told we had no choice. But you do have a choice, a third voice added. This alien looked almost plant-like, with vine-like appendages and a face covered in bark. We all have a choice. We just forgot we could make it. Until today. Until we heard a species younger than any of us say the word we'd forgotten how to speak. No. Deho looked at his crew. Unyo was crying quietly at his station. Minji was gripping the edge of her console so hard her knuckles were white. Even Haiwan looked stunned. Why are you helping us? Deho asked. You don't know us. You have no reason to risk yourselves for humanity. We have every reason, Kalar said. For 3,000 years we've lived under the Concordate's control. They didn't conquer us with weapons, they conquered us with despair. They made us believe resistance was impossible. They made us believe submission was the only logical choice. They made us believe that freedom wasn't worth dying for. Kalar's golden eyes seemed to burn. You proved them wrong. You showed the galaxy that someone could still say no. You reminded us what we'd lost. The communication channel was suddenly flooded with voices, dozens of species all talking at once. Deho heard anger, hope, pain, determination. He heard the voices of civilizations that had forgotten how to fight and were remembering. We need to establish a secure channel, Haiwan said. Captain, request permission to coordinate with the Alliance leadership. If we're going to work together, we need a plan. Granted, Deho said. He turned to Kalar. Can you protect us while we make repairs? My ship is barely holding together. We can. The Vrelians won't attack while we're here. They're trying to calculate their next move. They never expected this. In 40,000 years, this has never happened. Over the next hours, the human survivors made emergency repairs while Alliance ships provided cover. Engineers from a dozen species came aboard human vessels, sharing technology and knowledge. Unisong worked side by side with a Veltran engineer, who taught her tricks about shield modulation that human science hadn't discovered. Yet Minji found herself in a conference room with Kalar and representatives from 15 other species. They were sharing data, comparing notes, building a picture of the Concordate's true nature. They're not invincible, Kalar explained, pulling up holographic displays. They're powerful, yes, but their strength comes from the fact that no one has ever fought back. When you submitted, you gave them your resources, your technology, your people. Each conquered species made them stronger. But that also made them dependent. Dependent how? Minji asked. A Thren officer named Nessa answered. The Concordate doesn't innovate. They don't need to. They take technology from every species they absorb. For 40,000 years, they've been collecting, not creating. It's made them rigid, predictable. They have protocols for everything. But those protocols assume everyone follows the rules. And we're not following the rules anymore, Minji said. Understanding dawning, exactly, Kalar confirmed, which means they don't know how to handle us. Meanwhile, aboard the damaged Eternal Dawn, Deho met with Jiwan Han, the ship's historian. Jiwan was an older woman who had spent most of the battle in the archives, protecting humanity's cultural data in case they all died. Now she had something to show the captain. When Minji hacked into the Vrelian databases, she downloaded terabytes of information, Jiwan explained, pulling up files on her tablet. Most of it was propaganda and administrative records. But buried deep in their archives, I found something. Architectural plans, coordinates, technical specifications. For what? Deho asked. For the central nexus, Jiwan said quietly. It's the heart of the Concordate's fleet coordination system. Every Vrelian ship connects to it. Every weapon system, every shield array, every tactical computer. It's how they control their massive fleets without chaos. It's how 300 ships can act as one. Deho felt his pulse quicken. If we destroyed this nexus, their fleet coordination would collapse, Jiwan finished. They'd still have individual ships, but they couldn't coordinate on a large scale. They'd lose their main advantage. Where is it? That's the problem. It's in the Obsidian Nebula in the core of Concordate space. It's protected by automated defense systems and a permanent garrison of 100 warships. It's considered impenetrable. Deho smiled grimly. 3 days ago, they considered humanity beaten. Things change. He called an emergency meeting with Kellar and the Alliance leadership. When he proposed the plan, a coordinated strike on the central nexus, the room erupted in argument. It's suicide, Nessa said bluntly. Even with 4,000 ships, we can't break through those defenses. We don't need 4,000 ships, Deho argued. We need a distraction force and a strike team. The distraction force engages their garrison openly, draws their attention. The strike team goes in fast and quiet, plants explosives, gets out. Or dies trying, Kellar added. But there was something in the alien's eyes, something like hope. You know this is insane, right? Even if we succeed, the casualties will be enormous. I know, Deho said, but we've already committed. We said no to the Concordat. That means we finish this one way or another. We can't just hide and hope they leave us alone. We need to break their power permanently. The room was silent. Then Nessa stood. The Thren will join you. We've been the Concordat's weapons for 5,000 years. It's time we aimed ourselves at the right target. One by one, the other species agreed. The Broken Chain Alliance had 4,000 ships and nothing left to lose. They'd spent lifetimes hiding in the dark. They were ready to fight in the light. The plan came together over the next 30 hours. Half the Alliance fleet would engage the Nexus garrison in direct combat. The other half would stage diversionary attacks across 3 other sectors, forcing the Concordat to split their forces. And a small strike team, human and alien volunteers, would approach the Nexus through the nebula's dense gas clouds, plant high-yield explosives at the core, and detonate. The strike team's survival chances were calculated at less than 2%. I'm leading the team, Deho announced to his bridge crew. No, Minji said immediately. You're the captain. You're needed here. The Eternal Dawn is barely functional, Deho said. We can't fight in the main battle. But we can get close to the Nexus through the nebula. Our hull's already damaged. One more suicide run won't make much difference. He looked at his crew. I need volunteers. I won't order anyone to come. Every hand on the bridge went up. Of course, Deho muttered. Of course you would. The fleet began moving toward the Obsidian Nebula. Deho stood on his damaged bridge, watching the Alliance ships around him. 3 days ago, he'd been ready to die alone with 40,000 humans. Now he was leading an army of species who'd forgotten what freedom meant. Captain, Junho said quietly, do you really think we can win this? Deho thought about that. He thought about Admiral Kang's message. He thought about the 40,000 humans who'd chosen death over slavery. He thought about Kellar and Nessa and all the others who'd spent lifetimes waiting for this moment. The Obsidian Nebula earned its name. From a distance, it looked like a wound in space, a massive cloud of dark gas and dust that swallowed light. Inside, sensors barely functioned. Communications were unreliable. Navigation was guesswork. It was the perfect place to hide something important. The Concordat had hidden their central nexus here 3,000 years ago, deep in the nebula's heart. Until now, no one had been foolish enough to attack it. We're approaching the outer boundary, Junho reported from his damaged console. The Eternal Dawn's bridge looked like it had been through a war, because it had. Patched panels sparked occasionally. Half the displays were cracked. The air smelled like burned circuits and recycled oxygen. But the ship still flew, and that was enough. Deho stood in the center of the bridge, watching the view screen show nothing but swirling darkness. Behind the Eternal Dawn, 9 other ships followed, volunteers from 6 different species. Ahead, deeper in the nebula, was their target. Around them, scattered across hundreds of light years, 4,000 Alliance ships were beginning their assault. All teams, report status, Deho ordered. The responses came through static-filled channels. The main assault force had engaged the Nexus garrison. The diversionary attacks were drawing Vrelian reinforcements away. Everything was going according to plan. People were dying according to plan too, but no one mentioned that. Captain, Minji said from her science station. I'm detecting massive energy signatures ahead. The Nexus is big. Bigger than we thought. It's not just a control station, it's the size of a small moon. Can we get close enough to plant the charges? If we're lucky and very, very careful. Minji pulled up a schematic. The automated defenses are concentrated here, here, and here. But there's a gap in the coverage near the maintenance docks. It's small, but if we come in at the right angle, we might survive for 5 whole minutes instead of 2. Unisong added from engineering. She'd refused to stay behind when Daeho organized the strike team. Better than nothing. Ambassador Hewan was on the bridge too, though her role in this battle was purely symbolic. She'd insisted on coming. If humanity is going to make one last stand, she'd said, I want to see it. The eternal dawn pushed deeper into the nebula. The darkness pressed against the view screen like something alive. Daeho could hear his crew breathing in the silence. He could hear the ship's hull creaking under the pressure. He could hear his own heart beating too fast. Contact, Junho said suddenly. Multiple defense drones activating. They've detected us. The view screen lit up with weapons fire. Automated turrets embedded in asteroids opened fire on the approaching ships. The Eternal Dawn's shields, already weak, flared and failed under the first barrage. An alarm screamed, "Evasive maneuvers!" Daeho ordered. The ship rolled, dodging through the nebula like a wounded bird. Behind them, one of the volunteer ships, a Veltran cruiser, took a direct hit and exploded in silence. 8 ships left, return fire, Daeho commanded. Target those turrets. Mining lasers and improvised weapons lit up the darkness. Turrets exploded. Defense drones shattered. But for every enemy destroyed, 2 more appeared. The automated defenses were endless. A voice crackled through the comm system. Lieutenant Somin Kwan, leader of the human fighter wing. She was part of the main assault force, flying a one-person craft against warships 1,000 times her size. Strike team, this is Hawk Leader. We're keeping them busy out here, but they're starting to realize you're inside the nebula. Whatever you're going to do it fast. Daeho could hear explosions in the background of Somin's transmission. He could hear her breathing hard, hear her ship's proximity alarm screaming. She was 23 years old. She should have been exploring new worlds, not dying in a battle that would probably fail. Hawk Leader understood, Daeho said. Give us 5 more minutes. You've got 3, Somin replied. After that, they'll break through our line. Good luck, Captain. The transmission cut off. Daeho turned to Yuna. 3 minutes. Can we do it? We're about to find out, Yuna said. The Eternal Dawn burst through the final layer of defense drones. Ahead, the central nexus loomed like a nightmare made solid. It was massive, a structure of metal and crystal that pulsed with energy. Thousands of cables connected different sections. Power conduits glowed with stolen light. This was the brain of the Concordate's power, the central processor that coordinated their conquest of the galaxy. There, Minji pointed, the maintenance dock. Yuna's right, there's a gap in the defenses. All ships follow us in, Daeho ordered. The strike team ships dove toward the nexus, more defenses activated. 2 more ships died, 1 Thren, 1 human. 6 ships left, then 5, then 4. The Eternal Dawn crashed through the maintenance dock's entry field, its hull screaming in protest. Emergency lights flashed. Alarms wailed. But they were inside. Docking clamps engaged, Junho reported. Were attached to the Nexus's outer hull. Boarding teams go, Daeho ordered. The ship's airlocks opened. Soldiers from 4 species poured out. Humans in combat armor, Veltran warriors with plasma weapons. Thren shock troops, others. They fought through corridors that had never seen combat. Past maintenance robots that tried to stop them with industrial tools instead of weapons. Daeho led a team toward the Nexus's central core, following the schematics Jiwan Han had found. Minji was beside him, carrying the detonator. Hewan came too, moving slower than the soldiers but refusing to stay behind. Juno coordinated from the Eternal Dawn's bridge. They met real resistance in the inner corridors. Vrelian soldiers, surprised but deadly. The battle was close and brutal. Daeho fired a weapon he barely knew how to use. He saw a Veltran warrior fall beside him. He saw a human soldier, barely 20 years old, take a hit meant for Minji and die instantly. Keep moving, Daeho shouted. They burst into the central core chamber. It was enormous, filled with computing systems that hummed with power. Energy flowed through crystal matrices, processing data from thousands of ships across the galaxy. This was the Concordate's brain. This was the source of their coordination. And standing in the center of the chamber was Overlord Thanix. The Vrelian Supreme Commander was larger than Taejin Ro, its forearms holding weapons that looked like they could disintegrate matter. Its colors were deep red. Rage, Minji had learned. Pure rage, you cannot be here, Thanix said. Its voice didn't use the translator. It spoke directly into their minds, cold and absolute. This facility is protected by protocols 40,000 years old. You are primitives. You are mistakes. You will be corrected. We're not mistakes, Deho said, raising his weapon. We're humanity. And we don't get corrected. The fight that followed was chaos. Thanix moved impossibly fast, its weapons cutting through armor and flesh. Half of Deho's team died in the first 30 seconds. A Thren warrior tackled the Overlord, buying time for others to advance. Minji ran toward the central computer core carrying the explosive charges. Minji, go! Deho shouted, providing covering fire. But Thanix was faster. One of its arms swung, knocking Minji aside. The charges scattered across the floor. The Overlord turned its attention to Deho, weapons charging. You think you can win? Thanix asked. You think saying no changes reality? You are insects. You are temporary. The Concordat has existed for 40,000 years. We will exist for 40,000 more. You are just noise. Then listen to this noise, a voice said. Yuna Song stepped out from behind a computer bank. She was bleeding from a head wound. Her arm hung at a wrong angle. But in her good hand, she held a dead man's switch connected to the explosive charges she'd scattered throughout the chamber. You want to know what makes humans dangerous? Yuna asked. It's not that we're strong. It's not that we're smart. It's that we don't know when to quit. She pressed the switch. The explosion was massive. The central core erupted in fire and force. Deho felt himself thrown backward, felt the air leave his lungs, felt the world turn into pain and noise. He saw Yuna disappear in the blast. He saw Haiwen hit the wall and slide down, not moving. He saw the crystal matrices shatter and the energy systems die. Then everything went dark. When Deho woke up, he was on the floor of a damaged corridor. His ears were ringing. His chest hurt with every breath. Beside him, Minji was pulling herself up, her face covered in blood. Did we... Deho couldn't finish the sentence. Yes, Minji said. The core is destroyed. I can feel it. The entire facility is dying. They stumbled through corridors filled with smoke and sparks. They found Junho unconscious but alive. They found 3 other survivors from their team. They didn't find Hwan or Yuna or most of the others. We need to get back to the ship, Deho said. The Eternal Dawn was still attached to the Nexus, but barely. Its hull had breaches on 3 decks. Its engines were offline, but it was intact enough to fly. As they staggered onto the bridge, Deho looked at the view screen. Outside, the Nexus was tearing itself apart. Explosions rippled across its surface. The structure that had coordinated the Concordat's power for thousands of years was dying. Captain, a weak voice said from the comm system. It was Soman Quan, Hawk Leader. We're seeing it. The Vrelian ships are losing coordination. They're confused. They're vulnerable. We're pushing them back. Deho fell into his command chair. Every part of his body hurt. He'd lost half his crew. He'd lost Yuna, who'd saved them all. He'd lost... Commander Jiwan Park stood in the observation deck of the Earth Defense Station, watching the alien ships arrive. There were hundreds of them, each one different from the last. Some looked like crystals floating in space, others like massive insects made of metal. The Galactic Coalition had finally come to Earth, and Jiwan felt her stomach tighten with nervousness. Lieutenant Deho Kim stood beside her, his hand resting on his weapon. He did not trust these aliens. Nobody on Earth really did. The Coalition had sent messages for 5 years promising friendship and trade, but their tone always felt wrong, like adults talking down to children. They are here, Deho said quietly. What do you think they really want? Jiwan shook her head. She had read every message, studied every word. The Coalition spoke about unity and peace, but there was something else hidden in their words. They thought humans were simple, weak, not important. The main alien ship docked with the station. Jiwan and Deho walked to the meeting room where Ambassador Hyejin Lee was already waiting. Hyejin was Earth's best negotiator, calm and smart. She had handled difficult situations before, but nothing like this. The doors opened and the aliens entered. The leader was from a species called the Vrelith. It looked like a giant mantis with 4 arms and eyes that glowed purple. Behind it came representatives from dozens of other species, energy beings that flickered like flames, creatures covered in fur and scales, robots that might have been alive or might have been machines. Greetings, humans of Earth, the Vrelith said through a translator device. Its voice sounded musical but cold. I am High Chancellor Vrex. We welcome you to the Galactic Coalition. You are the 848th species to join our great union. Hyejin bowed slightly, showing respect. Thank you, High Chancellor. We are honored by your invitation. Rex made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. Invitation, yes, you are very fortunate. Your species is young, so very young. You live such short lives, barely 100 years. You grow so slowly, taking decades to become adults. And there are so few of you. Only 8 billion on one small world. Ji-won felt anger rise in her chest, but she kept her face calm. The alien was insulting them, making humans sound like insects. We understand we have much to learn, Hyejin said smoothly. Indeed, Rex continued. The Vrelith Empire has existed for 4,000 years. The Talmor Consortium for 3,000. We have seen civilizations rise and fall. You humans are like mayflies to us. Here for a moment, then gone. Another alien stepped forward, a being made of pure light called a Talmor. We offer you probationary membership in the Coalition. You will have rights to settle 3-star systems beyond your own. You may trade with approved species. In 500 years, if your civilization still exists, we will review your status. 500 years. They said it like it was nothing. Like they expected humans to be gone by then. Daeho whispered to Ji-won. This is an insult. They are giving us nothing. Ji-won nodded slightly. He was right. 3 systems was almost nothing. The Vrelith Empire controlled 10,000 systems. The Coalition was offering humans the scraps, the leftovers that nobody else wanted. But Hyejin surprised everyone. We accept your generous offer, High Chancellor. The aliens seemed pleased. Rex clicked his mandibles again. Wise decision. Do not worry, little mayflies. If you fade away like so many others, we will remember you existed. We always do. The meeting continued for hours. The aliens explained the rules. Humans could not build military ships above a certain size. They could not claim worlds that other species wanted. They had to pay taxes to the Coalition in resources and technology. Everything was designed to keep humans small and weak. When the aliens finally left, Daeho exploded with anger. How could you accept that? They treat us like children. Like pets. Hyejin remained calm. She looked at Ji-won. Commander, tell me what you noticed about the aliens. Ji-won thought carefully. She had been watching and listening the whole time. The Vrelith Empire is 4,000 years old. The Talmor Consortium is 3,000 years old. High Chancellor Rex mentioned several other empires that used to be powerful but are gone now. Exactly, Hyejin said. The Malthian Empire fell 2,000 years ago. The Kresh Dominion collapsed 1,500 years ago. The Yalith Federation broke apart 800 years ago. Every single dominant power in the galaxy has existed for less than 5,000 years before they disappeared, or became weak. Daeho frowned. So what? They are still more powerful than us. For now, Hyejin said. But humans have maintained continuous civilization for over 10,000 years. We have records going back to ancient Mesopotamia and beyond. We have fought each other, yes. We have had dark ages and disasters. But we never completely disappeared. We never forgot who we were. Ji-won began to understand. You are playing the long game. Hyejin smiled. The Vrelith think they are ancient because they have existed for 4,000 years. But that is nothing. That is barely a moment in human history. They think we are weak because we live short lives. But our institutions, our governments, our cultures, they live for thousands of years. They expand fast and burn bright, Ji-won said slowly. Then they collapse. And we grow slowly, Hyejin continued. We build carefully. We remember. We learn from our mistakes, even mistakes made centuries ago. The aliens see this as weakness. They think we are too slow. But actually, it is our greatest strength. Daeho still looked uncertain. But what if they are right? What if we are just mayflies? What if in 500 years humans are gone? Hyejin walked to the window and looked out at Earth below, blue and green and beautiful. 500 years ago, Daeho, it was the year 1787 on Earth. The United States had just written their Constitution. The French Revolution had not happened yet. The Industrial Revolution was just beginning. If you went back and told people then what the world would be like now, they would think you were insane. She turned back to face them. But humans endured. We adapted. We survived wars and plagues and disasters, and we will still be here in another 500 years. The question is not whether we will survive. The question is whether the Vrelith Empire will still exist. Whether the Talmor Consortium will still be united. History suggests they will not. Ji-won felt a chill run down her spine. It was a bold strategy, maybe a crazy strategy, but it made sense. So we accept their insults. We take the scraps they give us. We build slowly and carefully, and we wait. We wait, Yejin agreed. We do not need to be the strongest species in the galaxy. We do not need to be the fastest or the smartest. We just need to still be here when all the others are gone. Daeho finally nodded, understanding. The Coalition thinks they are giving us nothing. But they are giving us time. Exactly, Hyejin said. And time is the one thing humans are very, very good at using. The three of them stood in silence, looking out at the alien ships departing. The Coalition thought they had put humans in their place. They thought they had made it clear that humans were unimportant, weak, temporary. They had no idea they had just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. They had given humanity exactly what it needed most. Time to grow, time to spread, time to dig in roots so deep that nothing could pull them out. Ji-won smiled slightly. So we begin the long wait. We begin, Hyejin confirmed. Tell the Earth Council to prepare. We are going to be here for a very, very long time. Outside the window, Earth turned slowly in the darkness of space, patient and eternal, just as it had for billions of years. And humanity, learning from its own planet, prepared to do what it did best. Endure.